Hey everybody, it's me, Rick Acosta, the Dodger Card Collector, coming to you with another video. Today is Friday, July 25th. Had to look at my calendar. It's been a while. I looked back and I have made the last video I made where I spoke to all of you was in early January. I think I made one video where I didn't talk to you guys maybe in March, which was kind of like a one-off of me opening packs. But my last video where I actually spoke to you guys the way I always speak to you, it's been since January, so it's been a very long time, over 6 months. Lots happened in those several months. So yeah, let's cut to the chase. Those of you that have been following me all this time, my mom passed away in February, and needless to say, once that happened, my life completely changed. And even though it was something that we had planned, we knew she was sick. She had Alzheimer's. It's still hard to see it happen, and it was very obvious. We were getting close when I made my last video. So mom went peacefully in early February. I will say Sunday will be 6 months, and it's different. Life is different when your number one fan is no longer around. And I think a lot of you who have lost parents can agree that, like, all of a sudden the person that loved you more than anybody is no longer around. And life is different. It's not better, it's a little worse, but life goes on, and you have to move on with it. So that's what's been happening there. Because of that, I've had no motivation to make YouTube videos. I've had a few attempts, told a few people basically I was never going to make a video again. I don't know, and I'm making this one. Let's see if it lasts. But one thing that for sure has not stopped is I'm still collecting. I'm still a card collector. Still a baseball card collector for sure. Cards arrive here almost weekly. I would say bi-weekly. I've picked up several cards in the past week. And I have been to 3 shows since mom's passing. So I have been out at shows. I was just at the West Coast show on Sunday. No, on Friday and Saturday. Take that back. I wanted to catch up. I wanted to catch up with you guys, and I had to look at my last video just for reference of what I discussed with you guys. And I got kind of teary-eyed because I realized my discussion was about my mom's birthday, along with the birthday of my baseball hero, Sandy Koufax. And looking back at that video, I can now see that mom's life was nearing an end, and kind of hard to watch. And I have to admit, like I said, I got teary-eyed. Some housekeeping, because it has been so long since my last video. I missed the YouTube Hall of Fame. I want to congratulate those guys that made it. I won't name them because honestly I don't know who made it. But congratulations to those of you that made the YouTube Hall of Fame. I noticed I received several votes. I did see several people who voted for me. I wanted to thank you. And I also was moved because the people that did vote for me are people that I greatly admire and greatly respect. And just having them vote for me means more to me than any YouTube Hall of Fame patch that someone could give me. So for those of you that voted for me, honestly, I saw your video. I won't name you because I can't remember you all, but I know that every time I saw someone, I go, wow, that person voted for me. I was really excited. So thank you again. I hope to be, I hope that I can make a video next year with my picks for the YouTube Hall of Fame. So I don't watch as much YouTube these days, or I should say it's not as much card content. But I do watch some videos, and wanted to talk a little about a term that I hear a lot By the way, I just noticed behind me, the Blue Jays and the Tampa Bay Rays are playing behind me. So that's the baseball game that's being played behind me. I'm recording this on Thursday. I'm not planning to release this till Friday, in case somebody will say the Jays weren't playing the Rays on Friday. But one of the things I've noticed in watching videos is I wanted to talk about the hobby. Now, right there, don't change the channel because it seems like everybody always wants to talk about the hobby. And I've had to make notes, so you're going to see me. I typed out so much that I'm going to be literally feel like I'm looking at cue cards or a teleprompter. But everyone uses the term the hobby in their videos. And frankly, I'll be honest, I've always said that I don't care about the hobby itself. I care about my collection. And that, to an extent, I still stick by that. My collection is very important to me. Things that other people discuss that are important to them aren't important to me, and I've been honest about that. But I realize now it's not that I don't care about the hobby. It's just that my definition of the hobby is different than everyone else's. I think everyone has their own definition of the hobby, and I wanted to discuss with you guys my definition of the hobby today because we haven't had a talk in a while. So I made a list of what my definition of the hobby is. And I'm not here to say the hobby isn't this or the hobby isn't that, or I know you saw this person's video and they said that they're wrong. I'm not doing that because if I did that, I'd be insulting the entire YouTube community. And I'm not here for that. This is just my definition of the hobby, of what the hobby is and what keeps me going. Because you guys have heard me before. I love collecting, and I know a lot of you like collecting and love collecting. Some of you, frankly, I don't know if you love to collect, but I do love to collect, and you're free to share your definition of the hobby in the comments section. So let's talk about my definition of the hobby and why I am a sports card collector. And these are in no particular order. Now, I have to admit, I have a collecting gene. My brother, I think, had a collecting gene. He collected records, vinyl records. I collected baseball cards. If I didn't collect baseball cards, there's a good chance I'd be collecting autographs or tickets, sports tickets or concert tickets. Maybe I'd be collecting rock and roll memorabilia or sports memorabilia. But I do have a collecting gene, so that's one of the reasons I collect. But one of the things is that I feel, and a buddy of mine, my old friend, my oldest childhood friend, Eric, who I bring up in several videos, years ago said to me something along the lines of, he wanted to come over to my house and see my museum. And I chuckled. But then I realized that my little card room is, to an extent, a tiny museum. It's not the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's not something you'd see at Dodger Stadium. But still, it's a little piece of baseball history, a little bit of a museum, a little bit of curating going on here. So yeah, to an extent, so we talk about, our rooms or our collections being that of a museum. And I feel like when I'm adding new pieces to my collection, it's like adding rooms or sections to a museum. I'm going to discuss that part a little bit more in a minute. But, when we collect for various reasons. And part of the reasons that I had as a child, I still have today. The thrill of the hunt. Finding a rare card. Now, a rare card does not have to be a T206 Honus Wagner. I unsuccessfully, is that a word? I unsuccessfully lost out on 2 cards this weekend. A 1966 Topps Choo Choo Coleman and the 1967 Topps Maury Wills. Now, a bunch are like, that's not rare. It's not rare, but they're single print cards and they're hard to find. I lost out on $80 bids. If a bunch of you want to go be spending $100, $200 on a bunch of cards from 1966 or 1967, have at it. I'm trying to avoid that. So for me, a rare card might be something like that. Not the 1933 Gaudi Napoleon Lajoie. Trust me, I'd love to have that card. But finding a rare card, completing a set. You guys know I'm a set builder. You guys know I'm a Dodger team collector. You guys know I collect Hall of Fame sports cards. For me, just finding a card, completing a set. Those of you that have built a set, you've been with me when I finished the 1941 play ball set. You were with me when I finished the 1953 top set. I'm currently working on 5 sets, which I'm going to discuss with you when I start showing cards. But completing a set, that's part of the thrill of the hunt. I don't do this anymore. I have to admit, though, I've done it twice in the past 6 months because I have this habit when I go to the Burbank card store, I buy packs. Opening packs was part of the thrill. For me, more as a kid, I don't get into it as much now. When I open packs now, I have the disappointment of remembering when I was a kid. I was like, you would think about what cards you didn't get. And to this day, I think the biggest cards I ever bought in wax packs were a 1973 Mike Schmidt, probably a 1975 George Brett. Maybe those were the biggest ones I ever had. So opening packs is part of the thrill of the hunt, but it also taps into the excitement of discovery. Our cards, our collections, I feel are a collection of baseball. Let you celebrate your favorite player. Tons of you are player collectors out there. I am indirectly not one, but I do have every Sandy Koufax card, and I have a lot of Dodger cards that basically make up their entire team runs. But whether you have a favorite player, a favorite team, a favorite season, I started collecting in 1973. So that set is extra special to me. It's so special to me that I'm actually, you guys know this, I've been working on the 2022 Topps Heritage set, which features the 1973 design. So we're talking about sets, we're talking about seasons, we're talking about memorable moments. I know some of you guys like to buy particular cards or particular memories, which leads us to nostalgia. If you collected as a kid, or you watch baseball growing up, or even today, cards bring back positive memories. 1974 Topps Hank Aaron comes to mind because you guys have heard me tell the story that I missed that 715th home run because I was at Little League practice. Yet that 1974 baseball card was something that I really wanted, and I did not buy until like 10 or 15 years ago. So it brings back fun memories of Little League and missing practice, and a rare Monday night game on NBC. The stories, that's another reason we collect. Every card represents a player, a season, a place of baseball history. I want the 1961 Topps Roger Maris. Why? Because he hit 61 home runs that season. Good enough for me. I want a Shohei Ohtani card. Why? Because he's on the back-to-back world champion Los Angeles Dodgers. That's good enough for me. Learning stories about players. Doesn't have to be some guy that won the World Series. I just said Ohtani. I've talked more other people without naming names because I'm trying to avoid naming names, but a lot of people talk about guys that fought in World War II or World War I, or guys that played college football and then went on to become Major League Baseball players, or guys that didn't want to leave Canada to play football in the United States. Learning stories about these guys can be really rewarding, and that's part of the reason I collect. That's part of the hobby. Organization and completion. I talked about curating. Many people, especially me, it hurts my shoulders, it hurts my neck. Sometimes I have a headache, but I enjoy sorting, cataloging, building complete collections. There's a wall right there. You guys can't see it. I've shared it with you before. Full of binders. Still working on that as we speak. I love seeing the satisfaction and seeing the progress of my collection slowly grow. Grow since I was 8 years old. if you're 40 years old and you started collecting 5 years ago, you've seen your collection grow. It doesn't mean it has to grow by millions in the next year. It just means slowly growing. I was talking with a buddy of mine the other day, and we were talking about growing up in my childhood home. I actually drove my childhood home a few weeks ago. And I drove by the area where I used to buy baseball cards. And I was telling him about opening packs. And sometimes I opened packs by myself outside the liquor store or the market. And they had a little bench in the front, and I would open my packs. And then sometimes there'd be friends with me. Sometimes they would be guys that we didn't know or guys from school that just happened to be around, and we'd open our packs together. That was the first sign of me having some type of community. Nowadays, community is a lot different. It's attending card shows. It's having text messages with friends. I had lunch. I won't name names. Watch a certain video that's out there. You saw me having lunch at the West Coast Card Show. Attending card shows, discussing collections, just having lunch with guys. That's what we do now. But one thing is, I have a question for you, is when you get the most enjoyment from your baseball cards, what are you doing? Are you hunting for rare cards at a show, or looking at cards on eBay or some auction? Are you looking at your collection? Right back there, that's my Dodger team sets, all back there. I already mentioned to you my binder walls. I've got my display cases up there. Do you like looking at them? I have to admit, there are times when I have to remind myself I need to get better at looking at my cards because it is very enjoyable. Sometimes I'm watching somebody's video and I say, wow, that guy's got a nice collection. And I realize I have the exact same cards he does. So it's like, pay attention to what you have. Are you learning about players? I love talking about Dodgers, but I have every California Angels, Los Angeles Angels baseball card too. I have every Padres card. I have every Milwaukee Brewers card, tops. But I like learning about players from other teams too because they all have stories. Finding bargains, I'm not as good at that these days, and my definition of bargain might be different. Some of you, I remember a few years ago at a show, I found a bunch of 1952 Topps cards available for $1 a piece. That was great. But sometimes I'm excited because I found a bargain because I bought a 1957 Topps Hank Aaron for $100 less than VCP. That's a bargain. Still paid a lot of money, but it's a bargain. So let's go back to this, and I know I'm rambling, you guys. Just bear with me a couple more minutes. I haven't spoken to you guys in a long time. Let's go back to the museum we were discussing. If you're adding a new card and it feels like you're I said adding a new card feels like adding a room to a museum. The enjoyment comes from curating. And I have to admit, curating might be one of the best things about card collecting. I'm not an accumulator. I'm curating. Accumulating are those guys that buy hundreds of thousands of cards and they're all sitting behind them in 5,000 count boxes. I don't accumulate. I have roughly $25,000 cards. $25,000. I have 25,000 cards. And if you ask me to look for a card, I can find it in less than 2 minutes. I am organized. Because you're not just collecting objects. You're building a collection with meaning and with structure. Now, that's different meaning, different structure for all of us. When I get a card, I came home with 8 cards from the West Coast Card Show. What I do first is I bring them home, I look at them, then I go to TCDB, and I input them in TCDB. If there are graded cards, I input my inventory into PSA cards, or PSA, and VCP, vintage card prices. I input all that information. Then I get my Excel spreadsheet out. I put it into my sets tab, into my collection tab, into my PSA collection tab. I take photos of cards, so I have images that I could use in PSA. I do all that. And then if I buy ungraded cards, then I got to put all the cards in their appropriate binders. Then after that, I get my phone, I have checklists in here, and I start wiping out the cards that I don't need anymore. I mark off card 209. I mark off card 250. Love doing that. I love doing that. That is one of my I love buying the cards. My next favorite part is coming home and curating my collection, putting everything away, organizing it. Okay, remember, you're building a collection with meaning and structure. Now, that mindset sometimes also involves a few elements. You're creating a narrative. Every new card expands the story of what your collection tells. It's a team, an era, a player, baseball history. That's all being added every time you add one card. Just one. Preservation. Museums protect objects because they're considered worth remembering. I know a bunch of you have a bunch of displays behind you with baseball cards. Absolutely. You're preserving the cards. Collecting can carry a similar feeling of being a steward of history. You know when you walk in, your baseball card friends are like, oh, cool. Your non-baseball card friends, they might not say, oh, cool, but they kind of want explanations. Like, what is this? They might ask you how much things are worth, but they might. I've had young adults come in here, and I show them my 1941 cards, and they're like, eh. But if I show them my 1983 Tony Gwynn, my 1983 Wade Boggs, my Mike Trout rookie card, they get excited. So it's just everybody's different what happens when they see cards. So there's preservation. Your personal expression. The choices you make about what belongs in your collection reflect your interest, your taste. I do my damnedest not to copy anybody here. My collection is mine. And I tell people not to copy what I do because you're not going to be happy. If I gave all my collection to someone, a grown man who's on YouTube or not on YouTube, but who collects, comments on my videos, or I run into him at shows, if I gave him all my cards, he wouldn't collect the same way I would. And before you know it, all of a sudden, my 1970 Topps collection has been sold because he wanted to buy some refractors from 2020. Okay, so that's where two people can collect baseball cards very differently. We have different interests and different tastes when it comes to our collection. So the only advice I will always say is don't copy me. And I don't think anybody wants to copy me anyway. Building something that lasts. A museum isn't just about one exhibit, you guys. I finished right there, I've got a 1961 Topps All-Star display case. When that exhibit's done, that doesn't mean the museum's done. We keep adding. It's something that grows over time. Each edition makes the whole collection richer. An addition to me is a big word because I keep hearing a word that I'm going to discuss about in a minute. A good museum isn't defined by having the most famous artifacts. It's defined by how thoroughly those artifacts are arranged to tell a story. Think about that when you're looking at your collection. You don't have a 1933 Babe Ruth. You don't have a 1915 Cracker Jack Ty Cobb. But you might have a 1950 Bowman set. You might have a 1955 Topps set. Those are great stories too. That's a great collection. So a good museum isn't defined by the most famous artifacts. Remember that. It's defined by those artifacts that are arranged to tell a story. As kids, we used to ask, how many cards do you have? Oh, I loved doing that. I can still tell you, like I said, I have over 25,000. But as a kid, it was a big thing. Now adults ask, what story does my collection tell? Lastly, the consolidation word. I've been hearing that word a lot. And to each his own. If you want to consolidate your collection, that's great. But when I hear the phrase, I'm going to consolidate my collection so I can buy my dream card. All of my cards are dream cards in my collection. All of them. That 1961 Topps Mickey Mantle is part of my dream. That 1969 Pete Rickert is part of the dream. Because when I was between 10 and 15 years old, I used to dream of having the best card collection in the world. Do I have the best card collection in the world? I have a pretty damn good one, but it supersedes anything of my dreams. I could never, the 15-year-old me could never dream of the collection I have today. Every card is a treasure. Remember that. If you're sitting there looking at your card and you're going, I got these beat up cards from 1987, it's part of your collection. Just keep building from there. Just because you don't have a 1934 Lou Gehrig doesn't, or some Ty Cobb or Cy Young card doesn't mean you're a bad collector. It just means you collect differently. Gives you time to build. So think about that. I'm curious, if someone walked into your museum, though, what would your exhibit be? All right. I have spoken for 25 minutes, which is 25 minutes too long for a lot of you. If you're still with me, what are we going to do? I'm going to catch you up on 5 or 6 sets that I am building. I'm going to share with you a card or two from each set. And we'll take a look at some baseball cards, because I think that's why you guys came around. All right. Let's turn off the camera, or let's turn the camera around. Okay, next card, next project. I held up this video by a few hours because this just arrived in the mail. Just got this from eBay or PSA authentication, whatever you want to call it. This is a 1915 Crackerjack Napoleon Rucker in a PSA 2. And I have been working on the Brooklyn Robins, as they were known back then. I have been working on their team set for several years. I have 4 of the 6. I still need Zach Wheat. I still need Otto Miller. Someday I hope to get them. I will be honest with you, I don't know if I ever will, but we'll have to see what happens. Napoleon Rucker, I actually still hear his name in Dodger broadcasts. Whenever Joe Davis talks about Clayton Kershaw, Napoleon Rucker's name comes up. I believe when it comes to strikeouts, when it comes to victories, I think it's strikeouts. So this is Napoleon Rucker. I see some caramel stains. That's something you're going to have to expect when you get Crackerjack cards. Here's the back. I'm going to change. I can't stand this whole PSA authentication thing, so I will take this out and replace it with a nicer sleeve. But that is my 1915 Crackerjack Napoleon Rucker. Okay, so going the rest of the way, we're going to go backwards. I am currently building a 1967 top set. I think I've shown you guys these cards in the past. I'm not sure. So I picked the 2 MVPs, Orlando Cepeda, Carl Yastrzemski. That reminds me of the 1975 Topps MVP subset that I love so much. And then the card on the right is Brooks Robinson. That's a high number. As children, that was the card we discussed a lot in the early 80s, like in late 79, 80. We talked about Brooks Robinson way more than we talked about the career receiver rookies. And even at that point, we knew the high numbers were bad or hard to get. And I'm learning that. I need 48 more cards to finish this set. They're all high numbers. I still need to learn more about single prints. I don't know how many of these 48 that I need are single prints, but I am noticing guys like the Joe Niekro rookie, the Mark Belanger rookie, the Maury Wills, which is technically a rookie. It's his first Topps card with his name on it. Those are 3, or the Red Sox team set. Those come to mind, and I'm noticing those cards are really expensive. I've seen them run anywhere between 80, and in the case of the Red Sox, which might be an exaggeration, I saw one for $220. I think I can find that cheaper. But those of you that have built 1967 sets can tell me if I'm crazy on those Red Sox. But these are 3 cards that I really love from that set. This is going to be an amazing set when it's done. So I look forward to getting those last 48. Hopefully in the next year, we'll see. All right, 1966 is another set I'm working on, really trying to bust out these 60s sets. Like the 1967 set, I am down to just the high numbers. I think I need 47 of those. These are some of my recent pickups. The William McCovey I picked up just this weekend at the West Coast Card Show. And also the middle card I picked up from the same seller, Mitch, from Mitch's Vintage. At the this one I bought at the Pasadena, the Front Row Center show. Oh, where was that? February or March of this year. So I picked up these two from Mitch. Thank you, Mitch. I picked up some other cards from him that I know I'll be sharing down the road. And I always look forward to seeing Mitch. He's just a wonderful guy. And then on the far right, I believe I bought this from Ash right after the February West Coast Card Show, and that's the 1966 Topps Mickey Mantle. I think I bought some mantles and some errands from him through his website, and I highly recommend that website because there's no sales tax on there. So something to think about if you're buying expensive cards. But the McCovey's a high number. Love that card. Love that pose. Hank Aaron's first card in Atlanta. And that's a great pose by Mickey Mantle. I'll be honest, I know there are people out there that say Mickey Mantle doesn't have a bad card. There's a couple I'm not fans of, but I love the 1966 card. 47 more to go. This one's a little easier than 1967, but the high numbers are still going to be a pain. There's a couple of single prints I need. Luckily, I do have the Grant Jackson single print card, which was a pain in the butt, and I've had that for several years. So we'll see how that goes. 1964 is the last of the 60 sets I am working on. I'm a little behind on 1964 compared to 1966 and 1967. Let me introduce the cards first. I've got the 1964 Pete Rose in a 2.5, a Willie Mays in a 3. Those are both recent pickups. And on the right is Duke Snider's last card. It's not on the Dodgers, it's on the Mets. It's a weird look. His 63 card is also on the Mets, but he wasn't wearing a cap, and you could tell he's wearing a Dodger uniform. But here he is full on in a 1964 Mets uniform. So interesting card. Now this set, I am working on the same way I did 1966 and 1967. When I started building them, I only focused on the first 4 series, card numbers 1 through 352. I'm not allowed to get any cards above 352. My focus was to get those 4. So finally this weekend, I picked up a Mickey Mantle and the Rose and the Mays. Those were my last 3 I think I needed, and I am done with series 1 through 4. So for now, that gives me the privilege of working exclusively on series 5, card numbers 353 to 430. So I work on those exclusively. Once I finish that, then I move on to series 6. It's just a way to keep me focused, because I don't want to have, I have 580 cards and the 18 cards and the 10 cards I need are Mays, Mantle, Aaron, Clemente, Banks. So I'm really focusing on, let's build these in some type of order. And like I said, I just finished series 4. I am starting series 5. I need about 195 cards to finish the set. If you ask me what are the big cards in series 5, the one big one that I really need is the Hank Aaron Willie Mays combo card. I'm trying to get that in a PSA 5. Series 6 has the Roberto Clemente, and series 7 has the Phil Niekro rookie card, the first rookie card. I already have the second one that he had in 1965. So these are my 3 guys from 1964. And lastly, I am building, you guys know this, I'm building a 1934 to 36 Diamond Star set. I am doing this set a little differently than I did with the Play Ball, or the way my friend Mitchell did it, where he did all the cards graded, which I think is phenomenal. It's too expensive for me. I did it for Play Ball, and I literally don't want to do that again. So what I am doing is I am getting all the Hall of Famer cards graded, And the non-Hall of Fame cards I am buying ungraded. There are a few exceptions. As you notice, this Dick Bartell card, Dick Bartell's not in the Hall of Fame, but I found the card so cheap that I bought the graded card. So there will be some non-Hall of Fame cards I buy graded just because I found them at a good price. So here's Dick Bartell, and I love the colors on that card, love the background. This is just a pretty set, it really is. Middle card, Charlie Gehringer. Shout out to my boy, Kurt from Brooklyn. We talk about the Tigers all the time. If there was a bit, I know a few Tiger fans. Kurt loves the Tigers, and he has an amazing Tigers collection. I wish he posted on YouTube, or someday maybe I'll have to put him on and have him share his Tiger cards. But here's Charlie Gehringer in a PSA 2. That is somewhat a recent pickup. The most recent pickup was the Tony Lazzeri card in a PSA 2. Yankee Hall of Famer. Not an easy card to get. I noticed, I think I have a 2, which is like the PSA report, I think has like 80 or 90 of them. And there just aren't many of them out there. And when they did show up, they tended to be, honestly, in the $500 range. And no disrespect, I didn't want to spend $500. But eventually I found this one in a lot lower price. So I was pleased with that. Yeah, you got some stains on there, but you know, when you're buying a card that's 90 years old, I was going to say 100. When you're buying a card that's 90 years old, that's what's going to happen. All right, so those are my Diamond Stars. I have 40. I'm only collecting the first 96. Cards 97 through 108 are high numbers and are duplicates of cards previously in the set. So I have 44 of the 96, and I have roughly 20, or low 20s, like 21, 22 of the 30 some odd Hall of Famers. It's a fun set. It's a beautiful set, and I really want to finish it because it'll be my oldest set before the play ball set, and it'll give me one complete set from every decade from the 30s to present day. So it's a nice task. I don't know if I'll ever finish. I hope I will. Bill Dickey is the next big card I need, and after that I would say it's lower tiered Hall of Famers, guys like Pie Traynor, Frankie Frisch, Bill Terry, those type of guys. So I've got the bigger cards, so which is great. The Terry, though, is finding to be a little bit expensive, so we'll see. All right, you guys, those are look at my latest pickups. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I know it's been a long time. I apologize. I hope that I will talk to you guys very soon. Have fun at the National for those of you that are going, and send good videos of the cards. We always like to see those things, you guys. All right, take care, everybody. See ya.
It's a beautiful day for a ball game.